This division has a lot of intrigue. This division has a lot going for itself, right? There's a lot of QBs. You know, whether it's young QBs like Kenny Pickett, whether it's, I guess Joe Burrow is still considered a young QB. And then you got Lamar, the enigma, everything that was around him. And then we have Nasty Man. Nasty Man, Deshaun Watson. There's a lot to discuss in this division. And, I talked about it briefly on Thursday in the NFC East preview with the homie Corey Parsons at the Fantasy Exec here on YouTube. And, this is an extremely competitive division. So looking forward to getting into it. Appreciate those pulling up. Just, bear with me as we wait. Let everyone tap in. Let everyone get settled in. And then we'll go ahead and move forward here. But you see the order. Bengals, Ravens, Browns, Steelers. This is tentatively how I see the division playing out. You don't have to agree, but that's just a tentative feeling that I have on it. But look, I think it's about that time. Alerts have been sent out. I see people pulling up. The chat is getting active. Corey is pulling up. Corey himself had a big weekend. Salute to him. So look, man, I think we need to start, as we always do, with the strength of schedule. And also, that music bed just trailed out. Musical production done by Mayfirst Music. Support him at soundcloud.com/Mayfirstmusic. Okay. So we're streaming live here on YouTube and Kick. So, trying to build this platform, trying to find new places to put this content and see where it can go. So salute to those on Kick. I'll be checking in from time to time to see if there's anybody over there, but we're starting from scratch there. But appreciate everyone on the journey as we did cross over 4,000 watch hours, which is one of the things you need to do to get some bread out of this shit. So, halfway there. Now we got to get the subs up, and then away we go. Then we can really cash in. So, all right, let's start with the Cincinnati Bengals. Oh, you know what? Let's pivot. In the chat, who do you got winning the AFC North? You see the four teams here. I kind of like starting that way to kind of get a sense of where y'all are at in the chat. And then as we, do team by team breakdowns, then we could chop it up even more about it. But soft feeling, pause. Preliminary feeling. AFC North Division winners. Who you got? Let me know in the chat. If you watch this on the replay, let me know in the comments. Same thing for those over there on Kick. So Bengals, Ravens, Browns, Steelers. Who do you got winning this division? While y'all are typing that in, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the strength of schedule so we know what we're looking at. Okay, so we're looking for four teams. Right off rip, the Pittsburgh Steelers over here with the 8th easiest schedule in the league. Okay, that's something we need to be aware of. That's something we need to focus on. Maybe, kind of, sort of. If things break right, if health on that defense holds up, they could be a New York Giant from last year type run away from making a run, potentially, right? We'll get there. Okay, let's cruise on down. The Cleveland Browns with Nasty Man Deshaun Watson, middle of the road in terms of their strength of schedule. Again, this is not based off the NFL's own metrics. This is based off Vegas forecasted win totals. Okay, we'll move on down. The Bengals and the Ravens back-to-back, similar strength of schedule. So no clear advantage for what most people feel are the two front runners of this division. Ravens and Bengals, similar strength of schedules. Very hard schedules. If you really want to parse the numbers, Ravens have top 9? They have a top 9. Both of them are in the top 12 in terms of hardest strength of schedule. So be that as it may, who do y'all got winning this division? Okay, we got Corey tapping in. Scrub Zero, he got the Ravens. Okay. A lot of Lamar talk is coming. So, stay locked and loaded for that. Corey, Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, Browns. Okay, so a lot of people rocking with the Ravens. I like it. Corey might got to move up the Steelers up to number 2. For real. I mean, I think with this 8th easiest strength of schedule. And again, I think that team, I'm not ready to call them a sleeper. I think there's definitely a lot of negatives that can hold them back, more so defensively, more so back 7. And we'll definitely get there. But in terms of on paper, they should be last in this division. unfortunately, we know games aren't won on paper. So I think there is a scenario where the Steelers could jump up there and potentially snag a wild card berth, especially 8th easiest schedule in the league. But let's go ahead and start with these Bengals, man. These Bengals, look, there's a lot to like, right? We already know what type of time these Bengals were on. Let me go ahead and get this tab set up here. Okay, so let's start with your man's Joe Burrow, okay? Now, again, we're going to go through the additions and subtractions from the Bengals. Players signed here. Was there any big free agent? Oh, yes, there was. Orlando Brown Jr. I think that was a steal and a half, getting Orlando Brown Jr. to pull up and anchor on that left side as the left tackle. Draft night. Was there anything substantial or impact? In my opinion, not necessarily. I know a lot of people are high on Myles Murphy. I'm going to pass on that. But in regards to, they just supplanted depth, if anything, in my opinion, with what they did in the draft. Players they lost. Samaje Perine is a Denver Bronco. Hayden Hurst is a Carolina Panther. Eli Apple, I forgot where he ended up being, but Jesse Bates is now a Falcon. Von Bell with the Panthers as well. So, they lost some pieces, but to be quite honest with you, I'm not really here to say these are big losses. I don't think any of these. You can make a case for Perine because Mixon has been in and out, and, obviously with him renegotiating his contract, which is another detriment to the running backs in this league. But you could argue Perine, but I'm not going to do that. But I think more importantly, with this Denver Bronco team, it was a tale of two halves against a specific defense when you're talking about Joe Burrow. Cover 2. Now, Corey knows this because he's been listening to the Sam D podcast for a very long time, which used to be the Pick a Pop podcast, which was a remix of the Dog Pound show. So historically, I have despised the cover 2. What is the one defense that gave Joe Burrow fits the first half of last year? You guessed it, cover 2. In QBR against cover 2, Joe Burrow was next to last in QBR. So man struggled against cover 2. Now look at the weapons he has. We could go to the depth chart early. Let's see if we got it here. No, that's schedule. No, that's that. Here we go. With the depth chart that he has, how are you struggling against cover 2 with Chase, Higgins, Boyd, Mixon, and so on and so forth, right? Well, a switch was flipped, adjustments were made, and then in the second half of the year in QBR, he jumped all the way up to 7th. Okay, so something happened in the first half to where he was basura against cover 2. So teams started overloading, playing cover 2, and eventually being a top tier QB, having these types of weapons, and I'm assuming with the offensive staff that they have, they figured out how to attack it. So now he's always been great against man-to-man. He's been lights out against man-to-man. Now he's found a way to dissect cover 2. So now with an improved offensive line, especially with Orlando Brown Jr. here, and even Orlando Brown Jr. has been quoted as saying, they brought me in here to run the rock. Okay, so there's going to be more emphasis on the run game, allegedly, with the addition of Orlando Brown Jr. I think there's a lot to be said there because when you look at the weapons here, and you're talking about Chase and Higgins as your wide receiver 1 and 2. Boyd in the slot is dangerous. He could be a number 1 or at least a number 2 on a lot of other teams. But the fact that he's in your slot lets you know how good T. Higgins is, okay? We know about Chase already, but it's the T. Higgins piece was like, wow, okay. Boyd is now the 3. He used to be the 1 there. Attacking defense, with the running game, with an Orlando Brown. And the rest of this offensive line isn't bad. It's a good offensive line, but I think now with Orlando Brown, now you're talking great. He's that important. They went from a good line to a great line just by bringing in Orlando Brown Jr. If they're going to emphasize the run, like everyone is saying, you got to look at Joe Mixon here. You got to look at Joe Mixon here and kind of wonder, well, why did you restructure that contract? Look, I know he's got to have some offseason stuff. I don't really care about that in regards to judging a player in his performance. We're talking about the player that performs on the field, not what he does off the field. But in regards to his ability, the fact that the Bengals kind of leveraged that, his offseason antics, to kind of lowball him and make him restructure his deal, I think he's going to eat crazy this year if they're really going to emphasize the run game. So the Bengals, who we know they could go crazy with 11 personnel. Imagine if they're able to dominate the run game out of 11 personnel because they have Orlando Brown Jr. now. How do you stop this Bengals offense? And I think that's why I still favor them in this division. Not to say that the O-line was trash last year, because it was not. But I think Orlando Brown Jr. being able to anchor that left side of the line and to create a lane where you can have 11 personnel and you can still truck people in the run game, that's going to be interesting to watch teams try to, defenses try to react and try to make adjustments on, because I want to know how you stop that. You could try nickel, you could try dime, you could try, to just play guys back and do quarters. You could try to do a lot of stuff. But what you're not going to do is load up the box. There's going to be a lot of light boxes when it comes to facing the Bengals here. So with that being said, how do you stop 11 personnel with a great O-line and a still really good running back, and then one of the better young quarterbacks in the league? This is an offense that should not be stopped. Now, the reason why I go with 11 personnel is because they ran shotgun hellas last year. I think over half the time they ran shotgun. And when they ran shotgun, they were able to run out of it. And now the offensive line is even better because of Orlando Brown Jr. How do you stop that? Please let me know, because I'm having a hard time figuring it out. And I will touch on the comments in a second. But right now, when it comes to this offensive line being improved, 11 personnel, Joe Burrow has figured out how to dissect cover 2. Joe Mixon probably wants to prove himself based off the offseason he's had. I don't see a lot of defenses that are tailor-made to slow down the Cincinnati Bengals. And I don't see a lot of offenses that can keep up with the Cincinnati Bengals. So to me, they're still the class of this division. Even though I love everything Baltimore has done, and we'll get there in a minute, but when it comes to finding out or favoring or projecting how a team's going to perform, I'm going to have to go with the Bengals, because the Bengals, with this high-powered offense and with allegedly improving the run ability on the line, I'm going to stick with the Cincinnati Bengals taking this division. And that's because the defense, I think, is a spot where, let me see. I'm not concerned about the front four. I'm not concerned about the linebackers. I think the weakness of the Cincinnati Bengals defense is going to be this back four. It's a lot of young pieces here. It's a lot of pieces where they're not familiar names. They're not guys that you know from other squads. It's a lot of youngins that are going to have to step up and make adjustments. And even though I'm not necessarily worried about the D-line pass rush isn't that great, okay? I'm not going to sit here and cape. DJ Reader, what version of him are we going to get? He's been very inconsistent, right? Hendrickson has looked the part at times, but he's another guy that is inconsistent. Linebackers are average. I don't think there's anything here. I don't think there's a game changer here or what have you. Maybe Corey has a feeling about, but that's more the DB, about, Owuzie, but I don't. I think the DBs here The back four or back five, if they go nickel, I have a problem with. Don't like it at all. Not a fan of it. Not a fan of it at all. I don't. There's a lot of youth here. There's a lot of inexperience here. Even though, you know, we could talk about maybe applying pressure. DJ Reader, I think, is their best D lineman, and he's a run stuffer. So, you know, if nickel's going to be their base defense, you're not going to get a lot of people home with this alignment right here. So if you're going to play nickel and play back, or maybe they're going to I'm really not too sold on what their scheme is. But in terms of if nickel is the base, if these are the guys they're running out there, and this is a very updated depth chart. You see the date as of Friday, right? That's Friday or Saturday? As of Saturday. I'm not sold on having your nickel as a base if these are the DBs you're going to run out there with. If these are the 5 DBs you're going to run out there with, I'm not sold on having the nickel as your base. So I think defense could be the only spot where they could let them down, because there's a lot of the defense is built to make adjustments in the sense of they got guys they can rotate. Like, there's not a lot of difference. Like I said, they've invested in terms of the draft, bringing in some youngins in this back five. So if any of these guys that are starting aren't getting the job done, they got some replacements. I don't think that means anything, though. And you see here, your man's Murphy, he's projected to be 3rd string. So draft-wise, it doesn't really look like anyone has panned out. So the defense could be lacking. But I think in terms of the front 7, I'm not mad at. It's this back 5 or whatever. So but I guess we could all back 6, a front 6, since they're running nickel. Of front 6, I'm not worried about. It's the back 5. The back 5 is the biggest question mark for me. So with that being said, the Cincinnati Bengals, I think damn near an immaculate offense. Immaculate offense. Hard to draw up a lot of schemes that can stop them. The defense, though, will be the question mark. And I think that might be a reoccurring theme for this entire division. Good offenses, maybe even great elite offenses. But then when you go to the other side of the ball, that's where the deficiencies lie. So the Cincinnati Bengals, I think they have the best offense on paper right now in this division. Ravens have a lot of question marks because we haven't seen it. We'll get there next. But in regards to right now, the Cincinnati Bengals, as this is a pure offensively driven league, I think the Bengals have the best offense in this division on paper as it stands right now, and they got better bringing in Orlando Jr. So let's go ahead and look at the over-under for the Cincinnati Bengals before we touch on the schedule, and I'll hit the chat before that. 11.5. It's a lot of wins, dog. It's a lot of wins, dog. 11.5 games for the Cincinnati Bengals. Over or under? So let me know in the chat, whether you're watching this live, if you're watching this on a replay, let me know in the comments. 11.5 for the Cincinnati Bengals. You taking the over or the under? Let's hit the chat. Let's see. Corey tapping in. Didn't listen to Sam about cover 2 until 2014-ish. I'll hold that out. Look, man, I've been that cover 2, man, is one of the worst schemes you could ever run. Let's see. Skip 0. The only stop for the Bengals are the Bengals. Okay, so the only thing that can stop the Bengals is the Bengals. Okay, I can see that. Certainly offensively. If Burrow continues to dissect man-to-man, and now he's able to slice and dice cover 2s, then what do? You do cover 3? Or you switch up and do cover 1? Do you have the DBs to go cover 1? I don't know. We're going to sit back and do quarters? I don't know. I don't know what you do with these Bengals, man. That's why I still think they're the class of this division. Let's see. Corey Owuzie is okay, not bad, but not great. Okay, well that means he's probably the best DB in the Bengals room. That probably means he's the best DB in the secondary room. BJ Hill is probably the best lineman. Oof, really? In terms of pass rush or run stuffing? Because that's kind of where I'm at with it. We'll get to that in a second. Where we got? Yeah, so you favor BJ Hill over DJ Reader? I mean, that probably says a lot more about DJ Reader than BJ Hill. Scrub Zero, BJ Hill is okay, but if he's your best lineman, that's a problem. I agree. Corey, BJ Hill is the reason for the Super Bowl run on defense. I remember that. What happened last year, though? I think that's kind of been I think that's kind of a theme throughout this whole entire defense is inconsistency. But, you know, DJ Reader is supposed to be the run stuffer. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see. But if BJ Hill is also of that level, if you're saying he's better than DJ Reader, then they should be a lot better than the run than they have looked on paper. Scrub Zero, I have the under for the Bengals. Okay, yeah, that is a big number, bro. 11.5, that's a big number. That is a big number, man. 11.5 on the Cincinnati Bengals, that is a big number. Corey, BJ Hill equals run stuffing. Remember, no, I agree with you. He is a run stuffer. I'm just curious. I guess now my question is him and Reader, who's better? But in actuality, it kind of just doesn't matter. Because even at both of their peaks, at both of their peaks, I don't see them as being anything substantial, more so than above average. If they're at their peak, I think both are above average. I don't see either one of them as being great at their peak. I could be wrong though. I'm not opposed to being wrong. But okay, so we got that. 11.5. What do you have, Corey? You going over or under? That's a big number, bro. And you see there's actually juice on the over. Some sneaky juice there on the over. All right, let me come off the screen for a second. Yep. Okay, cool. We're good there. All right. So let me see. Let me pull up this schedule and we can talk about how we see these games playing out. Because remember, they have the hardest schedule, right? They have the hardest one, or is it the Ravens? Ravens. Okay, so if you remember, Ravens have the 21st easiest schedule and the Bengals have the 20th. Or if you want to reverse that, you're talking about the Bengals have the 12th hardest schedule in the league. 12th hardest schedule in the league. Okay. Corey's going with the under. Under. Division 2 competitive. Wouldn't be a lot of splits in a division. Okay. Yep. I kind of agree. I don't think I could see myself really rationalizing taking the over, but I think the under. Under's the easy play there, and you see the money is heavy on the under. All right, but let's take a quick look at this schedule. We won't go game by game per se, but let's look at a stack of games in terms of how difficult is this run. So out the gate, they got a relatively early bye week. Bye week is week 7. You see them starting off Sunday against the Browns, right? On the road at the Browns. So Browns, Ravens. So 2 division games off rip. That'll certainly get things popping. We'll definitely know where things stand off rip after 2 weeks. Then they got the Rams. You could kind of say that's a cupcake. Titans, you would favor them there. Cardinals is a cupcake. And then you got the Seahawks. So a relatively easy start. You could definitely see in this 6-game stretch, you could see 5-1, 4-2. I don't know if I see 6-0. But I could see 5-1, 4-2 in this stretch. Then they take that bye week. Then they come out the bye week, and now the real fun begins. Because now you got to go on the road to the 49ers and the Bills back to back. Then you got the Texans. You would think that's a cupcake, but you never know. Ravens again. So to get the Ravens done relatively early. So 49ers, Bills, Texans, Ravens. They could get Pittsburgh, then Jacksonville, Colts. Colts is probably now a cupcake with the whole Jonathan Taylor thing as we await if there's actually going to be a trade. Yeah, this is a really difficult schedule. This is a real difficult schedule, yo, because there's no. Let's see the cupcakes. The cupcakes you could say the Rams, Cardinals, Texans. That's 3. Colts, especially with no Jonathan Taylor, that's 4. I'm not that high on the Vikings. We'll talk about the NFC North on Thursday. That's 5. 5 cupcakes, and some of those are debatable. This is not an easy schedule. So the Bengals to hit this number, to hit this over, they're gonna have to really earn that. They're really gonna have to earn that over, because I find it a little perplexing to assume that this team is that good that they got 12 wins against this caliber of opponents. I think they'll do well in the first 6 games. I think starting with the Browns, I think they'll do well in this first 6-pack. It's the other 11 that I'm like, I don't know. If they run 4-2, 5-1 here, then obviously all they need to do is run off another 6-7 games out of these 11, which is plausible. So it depends on the hot start. If they get the hot start, I think, the people who want the juice to take the over, they could be in the mix there. They could definitely be in the mix there. So we shall see. I'm going to go ahead and take the under, because now looking at that schedule, I'm a little bit more confirmed in my belief that I don't see 12 wins. I don't see 12 wins unless one of these contending teams falls down. Because even if they split in the division, that's 3 wins. So if you give them the 5 cupcakes and the 3 division wins, that's 8. You see another 4? I don't know about that. All right, I'll hit the chat. Let's see. Corey, AFC North will be similar to NFC East. Yes, it's a lot of competitive divisions this year. I think the South, the NFC South is another one that's low-key up there. I think the division we're going to end off with on Thursday, I think the NFC North low-key could be very competitive, because the top of that division has regressed enough to where the bottom and the mid have caught up. So I think the NFC North is going to be a competitive division as well. And I will have a guest on Thursday pulling up to tap in on the NFC North. We'll get into that later on. But he's been on the CMD podcast. He knows his shit about football. So looking forward to that. Scrub Zero. There's no excuse for the Bengals to be 3-3. Well, I would hope they're better than that. Like if they're 3-3, I think heads got to roll. Like, I don't see 3 losses here, unless you're telling me Nasty Man is back, Lamar and the Ravens are who we think they're going to be, and they get telling me Geno and them is on it, or maybe Tannehill and them is on it. That's a hard sell to me with this offense, because the defenses here don't scare me with this offense. I think they could put up 30 pieces on all 6 of these teams. They could put up 30 pieces on all 6 of these teams. So it's after that bye week where, in my opinion, it gets a little dicey. You're talking about the 49ers. Bills have a good defense. Pittsburgh has a good defense on paper. That's where things get a little dicey. But off rip, I think they could put up 28 to 35 on all 6 of these squads off rip. We shall see. So over/under, I am going to go under on the Cincinnati Bengals. Under 11.5 games. All right. Come off this. Let me set up everything for the Baltimore Ravens. Look, the Ravens, the Baltimore Ravens. I have talked about them a lot on this channel. I have, put up a lot of content on this channel. A lot of people found me from talking about Lamar Jackson and his plight with his contract and how I felt the Ravens were treating him. So I have been really tapped in on all things Ravens throughout the offseason, into the contract dispute, which turned into the eventual resolution of him getting the bag. And now away we go. We got Odell, we got Zay Flowers, we got Monken as the OC. J.K. Dobbins, he wants his bag, but I mean, we're not really worried about no J.K. Dobbins like that. But all signs point towards the Ravens should be ready. All signs point towards the Ravens taking a step. Will they take that step? Is Lamar going to ascend? Now, I know for one, our guy Corey is a very anti-Lamar guy, but again, let's go ahead to the schedule. 11th hardest schedule in the league, okay? But when we're talking Baltimore, we'll start with who they brought in. And we're looking at Nelson Aguilar. We're looking at Odell Beckham. And then all the draft moves. Zay Flowers, most importantly, right? So, slide over, and now let's look at this depth chart. And then the biggest addition, more so than anything else, Greg Roman out, Todd Monken in. Todd Monken has unleashed Lamar Jackson. Todd Monken has granted Lamar Jackson the privilege of calling audibles, something he has never been allowed to do. Todd Monken has allowed Lamar Jackson the privilege to slide past protection, something he was never allowed to do. So now we have Lamar Jackson, who has been everyone's whipping boy for tearing him down. He's a running back, can't throw, can't make all the throws. What happens when you take his legs away? You can't sustain that longevity playing like that, etc., etc., etc. Looking past the fact that it's a miracle he's put up the numbers he has put up with the lack of weapons around him. So now the Ravens did the genius thing of surrounding their franchise quarterback with actual weapons. And it starts, to me, not with Odell Beckham Jr., it starts with Zay Flowers. Now, he's very polarizing. You're either very high on Zay Flowers or you're mid on Zay Flowers. I was kind of in the camp of mid. I ain't gonna hold you. But everything I've seen, training camp, preseason, how they claim they're going to use him, it seems like it fits his skill set extremely well. If they're going to use him to his skill set, he's going to be a slot guy. He's a guy you can move around, interchangeable. I wouldn't be surprised if they do some gadget plays involved in him. Like, he's the type of guy, he's one of those guys where just get the ball in his hands, pause, and let him do some things. Let him figure it out. And you pair that with Odell. We know Odell like to throw, right? We know Odell like to throw. So you could definitely see a couple of, trick plays to where Odell is getting the rock and he's chucking it deep to either Zay or even Lamar. I wouldn't be surprised if Monken's got that in his bag because Odell got an arm. So I think the versatility of this offense is what's the most impressive. As much as it is just the fact of, hey, Lamar, you can actually be a real professional QB now and call checks at the line, call out, pass pro and do check routes. Hot routes. You can do all of that now, Lamar. You're welcome. Now that he's allowed to do that, as if he's never had that, he had that privilege in college and won a Heisman, but okay, let me not go down that road again. So it's there for the taking. The offense is built. The offense is built. It's a good O-line. Is it a great O-line? Not in my opinion. Good O-line. You still got Mark Andrews. You still got Lamar. J.K. Dobbins, Coming off the injury, I think he looked better than I would have thought he would have coming off the injuries he sustained, and he was able to be respectable. Now, assuming health and assuming he actually plays, because he's bickering about a contract, he's trying to assert himself into the Josh Jacobs, Saquon, Tony Pollard discussions, but he ain't that, not yet anyway. But he's trying to put himself of that ilk. But the offense is built. Bateman, a lot of people have been selling me on Bateman. I'm not saying he's not good. I'm not saying he's not, there's people that's telling me he's the real number one on this offense in terms of wide receivers. That could be the case. I don't know. Everything about this Ravens offense is wait and see. Nobody knows anything when it comes to this Ravens offense. No one can definitively say, I know how they're going to play out. I know how they're going to look. No, you do not know. We haven't seen it. Lamar is healthy. Odell is healthy. Bateman is healthy. Zay Flowers is young. He's energetic. He's very versatile. The O-line looks to be healthy. Mark Andrews is healthy. This is something that's been unearthed. Todd Monken now can actually do things with this offense that has never been done before with the Baltimore Ravens. The history of this organization. Monken is a guy that could come in here. He likes doing two tight ends. So where is he? My man, everyone's telling me about Likely. Everyone's saying Likely is a guy that can flash in this offense with Monken in his two tight end base set. We'll see how that looks. So there's a lot of guys here that can flash. I think Aguilar can flash in spots. Duvernay, I'm not that sold on that, but Aguilar, we know what he's good at. He's only good at one thing. So I think he'll be used to put out there and stretch the field vertically. They'll see how that goes. 31 personnel, I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to 31 personnel, especially if Zay is who we think he is. So I think with this Ravens thing, it's all about wait and see, because no one can really say definitively right now how this offense is going to look. And I think when it comes down to it, it's if OBJ isn't the number one, and we could argue that OBJ's days of being the number one is over. I wouldn't push back too crazy against that. But if that's the case, then who's the number one? And then that's where I've had people sell me on Bateman. And I'm not completely buying, but I understand what they're doing. He certainly was drafted to be a guy that potentially could be a number one, but is he ready for that step? And if it's Lamar's been able to throw successfully from the pocket against a lot of good defensive formations. He's been good against zone. He's been good against man, different formations of zone. So the issue isn't that. How do you take advantage of Lamar's ability? It's not like Lamar's now going to be a drop back QB. You're still going to take advantage of Lamar's skill set of running the rock. You're still going to take advantage of him using his legs to create opportunities for others. But instead of creating opportunities for, Sammy Watkins of the world, you're creating opportunities for Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham Jr. That's the difference. When Lamar is running around and he's scrambling out the pocket and he's trying to figure out and someone needs to freelance, we know what Odell can do freelancing. Zay Flowers has the look of someone and the skill set of someone who can be dynamic freestyling. And Bateman could be that guy as well. And we know Andrews is always there. So potentially, and that's the key word here, potentially for this Ravens offense, they look the part. Now, in my opinion, you can't argue that this offense can be better than Cincinnati's. Only because we've seen the Bengals offense be dynamic. We're all projecting the Ravens offense to be dynamic, but we don't know that yet. So on paper, this looks to be like obviously, clearly the best offensive skill set weapons that Lamar's ever had. But overall, this looks to just be a really good offense top to bottom. Now, depth is an issue here. If Odell isn't fully back to himself, and if Bateman is still trying to get back through it, I have no faith in Aguilar or Duvernay getting an increased role. I have absolutely no faith. So you're asking Odell, who hasn't been healthy for a full season in a very long time, and Bateman, who in his short career hasn't shown to be the most healthy. You're asking these two guys to give you 16, 17 games. The percentage of that happening isn't the greatest on paper. But if we're projecting positivity, look, this offense low-key should be top 10. The offensive line is good. And they're still going to run the ball. It's just now when they get into 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, you actually have confidence in something happening outside of maybe a Mark Andrews button hook. So the offense, to me, is not the issue. Defensively, this is where there's some question marks. Because I have a question for y'all in the chat, live, and if you're on the replay, in the comments. Answer me this question. Is your defense good if the strength of your defense is your linebacking core? Let me know in the chat. If you're here live, or if you're watching the replay, let me know in the comments. Can your defense be considered good if the strength of it is your linebacking core? Because that's what I think we got here in Baltimore. I like Patrick Queen and I like Roquan Smith, but in terms of everybody else, front 4, back 4, I'm not that impressed. I'm not that impressed. Roquan played so much better. He played good in Chicago. He looked good in Chicago. But when you look at how he played and how they used him in Baltimore, it's almost like they said, yeah, dog, you played well, but the Bears weren't using you right. We're going to bring you here, and we're going to make sure we don't, accentuate your weaknesses. Because Roquan in Chicago, because of the lack of D tackles, so again, the lack of interior push on the line, he had a hard time getting off blocks. At that second level, he had a hard time getting off blocks. We're getting swallowed up in the run game. Pause. Baltimore found a way to work him in around that. And his productivity, through the roof. Through the roof. The scheme in Baltimore fits him better than what it did in Chicago. Patrick Queen is really good. I'm really high on Patrick Queen as a linebacker. The problem is, that's about it. I'm not sold on the offensive line. The defensive line. I'm not that big on the defensive line. And the secondary to me is low-key mid. And it's not even low-key, it's high-key mid. So that's why, to me, it's trying to understand. I don't know what we're asking for from your Baltimore Ravens, because as good as this offense potentially could be, and they have a difficult schedule, and we'll break that down in a bit. It's this defense where the strength is in your linebackers. This ain't the 80s. In the 80s, you could get that off. Maybe even in the 90s a little bit. But it's been about 2 decades since your defense is worth a damn because you got really great linebackers and not much else. Having great linebackers is vital to an elite defense, but it can't be the only strength. And to me, the only strength of this Baltimore Raven defense is the linebacking core. And I think that's where a lot of issues are going to lie with the Baltimore Ravens. Because who's going to manufacture a pass rush here? I don't see where the pass rush is coming from. I don't see it. I know a lot of people are high on Ajobo. I don't see, but he's a rotational guy at best. I don't know where the pass rush is coming from. And then in this back 4, back 5, if they do nickel, Again, where's it coming from? They went Kyle Hamilton in the first round. What was that, a couple years ago? But I mean, I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. So, the defense to me is where the bugaboo is, and then that's why, to me, even though the Bengals have issues on defense as well, I think the fact that we haven't seen the Ravens offense live in person yet, and the fact that the defense for the Ravens is primarily based on the strength of their linebackers, those are two big enough question marks for me to still give the Bengals the edge to take this division. So the Baltimore Ravens, offense on paper with a new OC, with a healthy paid Lamar Jackson, with a healthy Odell Beckham, with, unleashing Zay Flowers, looks to be the part on paper. Defense, to me, lacks a lot. Love the linebackers and not much else. So, where does that put us when it comes to over-unders for the Baltimore Ravens? 10.5 is the number. The under is the favorite. 10.5 wins for the Baltimore Ravens. Let me know in the chat and in the comments. Over, under 10.5. I'll hit the comments. Let's see. Salute to those pulling up. I appreciate it. The like button is there too. If you want to hit that, I do appreciate that. Thank y'all so much in advance. All right, let's see. What do we have here? Scripts here, the privilege of being the QB. Yeah, man, look, the Ravens are really slick, man. The Ravens are really getting away with the travesty of justice of really telling us we're allowing Lamar Jackson to actually be a QB now. Like the fact that Lamar is playing, year 4 or 5, and he's now being allowed to slide pass protection. He's now being allowed to call audibles, check to hot routes. Y'all really let Greg Roman get that off? Travesty of justice. Absolute travesty of justice. Let's see. Scrub Zero, I'm ready to see the mayhem and the havoc this Ravens offense will bring. And I think that's why I can't call it yet. That's why I can't say anything in regards to, we don't know how this is going to look, but we know what it could look like. We know what it should look like in our heads. Like we can all dream up scenarios of, I think all of us feel like we could all be Todd Monken low key. I feel like all of us feel like if you make us Todd Monken, like if we line this up, we could get this cracking with Lamar and his skill set, with Odell, with Zay, with Bateman, with Andrews, with J.K. Dobbins, with a good offensive line and a play caller that isn't scared, a play caller that isn't uber conservative, that isn't predicated on the run game no matter what. I think all of us wish we can be calling plays for the Baltimore Ravens this year. So I asked the question, can your defense be considered good if the strength of your defense is the linebacking core? Scrub Zero tapped in. I don't think so because the Ravens don't have a pass rush, and outside of Humphrey and maybe Hamilton, I have no confidence in that secondary. Yeah, the secondary is really problematic. I don't like a lot of what they're bringing to the table. I think, though, there could be something to be said to where somebody could come up and flash, someone that we're not aware of. Maybe they could scheme their way. Like they found a way to unlock another level of Roquan Smith that the Bears clearly were not. If they can find a way to maybe do that with some of the guys in the secondary, they could prove us all wrong. But I'm with Scrub Zero here. I don't like that secondary at all. Scrub Zero, Ravens need to make a trade for a pass rusher, for a plus pass rusher. That would be good. I don't know if they could get that off. I don't. Chris Jones hasn't reported, but he's not necessarily pass rush. Who's the other D lineman that's still out? Chris Wilkins for the Dolphins, but he's more run stuffing. I don't know of any pass rushers that would actually be available. But I do agree. They need to do something on that pass rush. The pass rush is definitely a limitation of that defense. AB in the house. Yes, it is, but your pass rusher has issues. So I guess you're saying your defense can be good if your linebacking core is the strongest part. Well, I think that's the problem. I think that's exactly the problem, is that I think the Ravens don't have pass rushers. So the fact that the strength of their defense is the linebacking core is the problem. Magic Man in the house. The answer to the title is it's yes. Yes, the Ravens do have more weapons. But until we actually see them, it's still a question. Okay, when it comes to the over, remember the over is 10.5 for the Ravens. Scrub Zero's going over. I have to because I got them winning the division. Okay, respect that. Corey, I got to stop coming in here, rethinking the Ravens evaluation. Again, look, Corey's been one of the biggest Lamar detractors I've ever seen. So, you know, if we keep hitting him with knowledge, maybe we could get him to rethink. Magic Man in the house. No excuses then. I mean, but it's not like the excuses were like made up. That's my whole problem with the whole thing of Lamar and excuses. It's like, not having weapons is a real legitimate excuse. Like, no one's saying, like, it's not like, oh, well, let's just make up that he had no weapons. No, he legitimately had no weapons. Like, that's not an excuse. You could just say, oh, well, now there's no more excuses then. Like, they failed him. He didn't fail them. They failed him. Let's see. Okay, Magic Man is coming in hot and heavy. He's got a Browns hot take coming up. I see it there. He's got the Ravens in third place behind the Browns and the Bengals. Okay, see, Magic Man comes in here and he gives hot takes. I think he would do a lot better than what we saw today with what was it? Skip and Sherm and Michael Irvin and Keyshawn. Like, what the hell was Keyshawn? Did Keyshawn say anything? Like, I think we need to get Magic Man on there. He'll be better than Keyshawn was with Skip today. Let's see. Magic Man, if you're a Browns fan, you should have some optimism coming into this year. Just depends if Watson can actually perform. And we will be getting to them next. Now, I think that's a real question because I think the Browns, well, Watson specifically, you saw glimpses of good Watson and you saw glimpses of mid Watson, and it wasn't where you thought it was or where it should have been for a guy coming off such a long layoff. And we'll touch into that a little bit. Let's see. Magic Man stirring the pot. He's another guy that is not necessarily anti-Lamar, but he's certainly not a pro-Lamar guy. He's a very big Justin Tucker guy. And there it is. Okay. So we're caught up there. Let's get into the schedule just a little bit before we move on to Magic Man's Cleveland Browns. All right, let's see. Where we at here? Pull that up. This is the schedule. Yes, it is. Baltimore Ravens schedule. Cool beans. We just check this. Okay, we're good over there. Copy that. Cool. All right. Ravens schedule. They start with the Houston Texans, Cincinnati. So one thing you notice here, that bye week is hella far. That bye week is in December. So they got 3 months of football before they get a bye week. That's something to keep an eye on when it comes to fantasy. They get a hella late bye week. And that includes a trip overseas to London. So no bye week after the London trip. So the Ravens start off with the Texans and they go at Cincinnati. Colts. We don't know if Jonathan Taylor will be there or not. Then they go on a 3-game road trip here with two division games and the Titans overseas in London. This is a pretty rough stretch here. Browns, Steelers, Tennessee, and London. And then you come back and you got to deal with potentially the offensive firepower of the Detroit Lions. Then you have Arizona, Seattle, Cleveland again. So they get rid of Cleveland relatively early. And Cincinnati. They get rid of Cleveland and Cincinnati relatively early. This is interesting placement of the bye week. They had the two LA teams in between a bye week, but the Rams are at home. Interesting there. No real cupcakes on this schedule, except for Arizona and the Texans, I guess. But I think D'Amico got them boys flying around. So I wouldn't say that this is a layup. Even though it's a home game, this is not a layup to me. But in terms of cupcakes, only cupcake on this schedule is the Cardinals. You could argue the Rams. And the Colts if there's no Jonathan Taylor. So, yeah, this is a very difficult schedule. I don't like the layout of this schedule. And what was the number again? 10.5? 10.5. Do we see 11 wins here? I don't know if I see 11 wins. I think I see 10. I'm more locked in on 10 than I am 11. Yeah, this is going to be difficult. This schedule is spaced out. It's stacked really intelligently. The AI algorithm that does the scheduling really put together a very slick schedule here. Because you got the little 3-game run here, all road games, including a London trip. Then you got a couple of LA trips on the back half of the season, which do end off with 2 road games, but those home games, are not cupcakes. That Dolphins game could have a lot of meaning. Same thing with the Steelers game. That could have division implications. That could have seeding implications. Ravens have a difficult schedule. I'm going to go under. I think I'm going under. Only from the sense of 11 wins is a lot, man. 11 and 6? I don't know where Vegas is getting all these numbers from. And plus, to Magic Man's point, I think a team like the Browns is going to be a lot better than people think. I also think the Steelers could be a team that can step up here in flash. So, I'm going to go under. So y'all let me know over under on the Ravens 10.5. I'm going to go with the under. All right, let's see. Magic Man. I want Lamar to succeed, but I'm not one of his fanboys that think he's the second best QB in the NFL behind you know who. Yeah, I mean, look, there's certainly, and I'm surprised Boogie Down is not here today. Hopefully he catches this on the replay at some point. But Boogie Down is definitely a very pro Lamar guy. And I can see where people could think Lamar's been treated so unjustly that you want to elevate him because you're like, well, look how good he was with no help. Now they're giving him help. He could be in that next tier. Like if he plays well, if he gives similar production to what he was able to do a couple of years ago, you're going to have to kind of put him in that tier. If Lamar plays well, what he had 31 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in that MVP year, and we're not even talking about the rushing yards. Just from a passing perspective, 31 touchdowns and 6 interceptions and over 3,000, I think over 3,200 yards or something like that. If he's able to do 4,000 plus yards, let's say 4,500 yards and another 30 piece of touchdown passes, and let's say he's a little bit more risky because he's going to be passing the ball more, so he's going to have more picks. Let's say 10 to 12 interceptions. Let's say 35 touchdowns, 12 picks, 4,500 yards, and let's give him another 500 rushing yards and a few more rushing touchdowns. At that point, he's top 5, minimum, in terms of QBs. That's top 5. So while we can say, you know, people like the fanboy and all that stuff, that's cool. And you may have a point there right now. But if he goes out and produces with weapons now, so now you have a season where no weapons, I win the MVP. And with weapons, I put up those types of numbers of a Jalen Hurts, of a Patrick Mahomes, of a Burrow, of a Josh Allen, then yeah, I belong up there. And I might belong over some of those names because I've done it unlike them without weapons as well. Josh Allen has been mid until he got weapons. We've never seen Joe Burrow without weapons. So, you know, I think there's a lane there if Lamar shows improve where you're going to have to start dealing with him in those conversations. Scrub Zeros, if the Ravens are what we think they can be, they can pull off 11 wins. Okay, I respect it. I think that schedule's a little tough for me to go ahead and push on the over. I'm going to stick with the Vegas money and go with the under there. Yes, Corey, we know. You've tried to slander an MVP year. Yes, we are fully aware. But if you want to run down your narratives on why someone with 31 touchdowns and 6 interceptions with no help is not a good year or is not deserving of an MVP, then enlighten the chat. Enlighten the chat and good luck with that one. So we broke down the schedule. I think I'm sticking with the under here. Like Scrubzio said, there is a pathway for them to hit the over, but I think this division is a little bit too stacked. So I'm not going to ride with that. Did you see what I said about fantasy? Let's see. I got to scroll back. It's a lot of chats coming in. Let's see. You drafted Lamar on your fantasy team. Okay. I mean, you should. I mean, I don't think that even if you were anti-Lamar, that shouldn't mean you shouldn't draft him in fantasy. Like, if you're trying to win some money, you better draft Lamar. Like that, like, even if you're the biggest Lamar hater, like even Corey's one of the biggest anti-Lamar people I know. I think he would be silly if he had a legitimate chance to take Lamar at a reasonable spot in the draft and didn't do it. If your hatred for a player leads you to not take him when you're trying to win some money, then that's another level of anti-fandom that is a mental illness. Like that's hate. That's hateration in the dancery that is also mental illness. Scrub Zero, and he was unanimously voted MVP at that. I can't be hating on my man. Look, Corey's going to try. If he's brave enough to do it in the chat, he's going to try to give you his narratives while he's, I assume, typing away, or maybe not. Maybe he'll duck the smoke today because we'll be here all year. I'll just go ahead and pull up that overrated MVP. And excuse me, I shortchanged him. Excuse me, 36 passing touchdowns. 36 passing touchdowns, not 31. Sorry. 36 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Let's see what else we could go here. Led the league in QBR. So the QB, that's a running back. The QB that Corey is feverishly typing about slandering, trying to tell you all the reasons why he's not a good quarterback, led the league in QBR. Okay? And had a hella high passer rating. But Corey's going to tell us all the reasons why he's not a good quarterback with no weapons. 13-2 record, by the way. But, you know, not a good quarterback. Because he's going to mention what happened here in the playoffs. He's going to mention this playoff game as to why he shouldn't have been the MVP. Because just like in basketball, we take people's playoff performances and judge them about regular season awards. Anywho, all right. So we'll slide off the Ravens. Let's see. Magic Man, Trevor Lawrence will be fantasy MVP for QB. That's That's a sneaky good take. I'm not mad at that. I think there's definitely going to be. I think if you're doing fantasy, and we had on fantasy exec Corey Parsons on Thursday, he was giving us some knowledge. So check that in the archives if you haven't. I think QB position is always dicey in fantasy because you could obviously go for Mahomes. Look, I told y'all on Thursday, I went and drafted the Mahomes-Kelsey stack at the end of the first round, and I was in the championship. So, I think there's reasons to take a QB high, depending on what you plan to do with it. And then there's reasons to lay in wait and get, like, some people are taking Sam Howell late in their drafts, and they're expecting good numbers. Like, Sam Howell might be a sneaky good fantasy QB because he's going to run, and he's got weapons, decent offensive line in terms of pass pro anyway. They got to improve on the run game, but I mean, Sam Howell could be a guy that can give you sneaky good numbers. So QB is always going to be a weird thing when it comes to fantasy. It really just depends on, how you value them. To me, it depends on where I'm drafting. If I'm drafting high, I'm not taking a QB. But if I'm drafting later, like if it's a 12-team league or a 16-team league and I'm towards the back half of the first round, I'll think about a QB there, a top-tier QB there. But if I'm like I think in my draft with my main draft with the homies coming up, I got the second pick. I'm not taking a QB. I'm not taking a QB with the second overall fucking pick. I have to take a wide receiver or a running back at the second pick. But if I was like 10th or 11th or 12th, I think that's where you start looking at QBs. All right, let's see. All right, we got to get to the Browns. Browns is a spot where, let me set everything up here. Thank y'all for pulling up. Appreciate the likes coming in. Keep those coming in. We've been going about an hour strong. And so again, we've been here an hour breaking down the Bengals and the Ravens. So again, there's a lot to get into in this AFC North. So I love it. I love it where we're tapping in. We got a lot to go over, and we still got the Browns and the Steelers, who have two very interesting rosters. I won't say great rosters or whatever, but they have some interesting positions that I would love to break down with y'all. So let me get all my stuff set up here. Give me a sec. And away we go with the Browns. So there's a lot of Brown stuff here. The Cleveland Browns. A full year of Deshaun Watson, Elijah Moore. You know what? No. Let's just talk about Nasty Man. We got to talk about Nasty Man Deshaun Watson, right? So look, Deshaun Watson was once described as Michael Jordan of the NFL by his, Clemson coach, Dabo Swinney. Deshaun Watson looked the part. He played the part. He was one of the few rookie QBs to ever play well against a Bill Belichick defense. Deshaun Watson looked to be one of those ones. And then ACLs got torn. And then masseuse tables got abused. And now we're in a situation where there's people legitimately considering if Nasty Man Deshaun Watson is still that dude. There's people still questioning if Deshaun Watson could still be a top-tier QB. Well, I'm here to tell you, he's got the weapons to do so. And I could argue he's got better weapons here in Cleveland than he ever had in Houston. So if that's the case, and I believe Magic Man mentioned earlier, like the roster is stacked, this roster projects to be one of the better offenses in the league. The questions, though, are in a few areas. One being the guy we just talked about, Nasty Man, Deshaun Watson. What is he going to look like for a full year? Now they're paying him the real bread. They paid him $1 million last year because of how they structured that contract, because they knew he was going to get suspended for 3/4 of the year. Now they're paying him for real. Are they going to get a ROI on that contract? Can Deshaun Watson show them something that makes them forget the fact that they gave him fully guaranteed contract and became the ire of all NFL owners and front office executives. Deshaun Watson should be a top 10 QB. He certainly is one in pay scale. But is he still one in ability? Well, when you look at who they have acquired, when you're talking about Elijah Moore, when you're talking about, well, Marquise Goodwin, not necessarily, but Elijah Moore is a really important piece for them. I think getting Cedric Tillman in the draft is an important piece for them. He's a big body. He's a guy that can go up and go get it. I think Cedric Tillman is somebody you can really do a lot of good things with if used properly. If we go into the depth chart, this is what we're looking at for the Cleveland Browns. Also, the biggest addition might be Jim Schwartz on defense, and we'll get there in a little bit. But if we're talking about Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, a lot of people are high on him. I have mixed results on DPJ. DPJ, to me, is still a question mark. There's been a lot of people trying to sell me on him. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, read a lot of articles that are very high on DPJ. I just can't justify it at the moment. I think Elijah Moore steps in there and becomes very dynamic, because the one thing they like to do with Amari Cooper is the number one, wide receiver number one. He is the Y on this team. The thing is, they use him hellas in the slot. So they move Amari Cooper around to scheme him open. That now means you got either Elijah Moore or DPJ on the outside trying to get open vertically. I like that a lot more with Elijah Moore than DPJ, but I have people telling me, and people I've been reading and people that I trust listening to their podcast saying DPJ could be one of those guys that could take a step. I'll believe it when I see it, but the strength of this team is the offensive line. As much as we could talk about Nick Chubb and how great he is, and he is top tier, he could run in any formation. This team had a lot of struggles with Deshaun Watson under center. He's not used to that. He's used to performing out of the gun. He's used to performing in 11 personnel. He did that damn near exclusively in Houston. Now, last year, they had him under center, and you could tell it looked like something he wasn't comfortable with. Now, do you run that back and assume, well, shit, you've now have had a whole offseason, a whole training camp to get comfortable under center? Or do you mix in some of the shotgun stuff, some of the 11 personnel stuff that made him appear to be ascending to top tier QB mode with Houston? Do you mix in some of that now if you're Cleveland? I think you have to. And I think that's why they were trying to make sure that they get better at the wide receiver position in trading for Elijah Moore and then going out and drafting Cedric Tillman, because they do want to go 11 personnel a hell of a lot more than they did last year. So I like the fact that they're investing in that, and I don't think that'll be a hit to Nick Chubb. I don't think that'll be a hit at all to Nick Chubb, because whether it's shotgun, he ran well out of shotgun, and he obviously ran well in 21 and 22 personnel as well. So Nick Chubb can run in any formation, and that's because of how great Nick Chubb is, and that's because of how good his offensive line is. So I have no worries about this offensive line. So we're giving nasty man Deshaun Watson a really good offensive line, arguably top 10. You could even sell me on top 5. A top 10, top 5 offensive line with a real number one receiver that they move around to scheme him open. A legitimate top tier running back in Nick Chubb, and someone in Elijah Moore, who I'm not saying he can flash and be, a 1B or a 1A to Amari Cooper, but he can certainly play the part of being a 2 or 3. And then Cedric Tillman, I think there's definitely sets where you could use him, thinking fade routes, where you could take advantage of his big body. Pause. So I like the Browns a lot on paper, but similar to the Ravens, we haven't seen it in actuality. We haven't seen all these pieces at their peak. And that's where, to me, it's like, okay, we can project the hell out of this, or we can just play it safe and just assume they're just going to be mid because of how good the Bengals and Ravens are supposed to be. The Browns offense looks like a playoff team. The Browns defense, however, leaves a little bit to be desired. But I do like the addition. They were horrible against the run. They were absolutely putrid against the run last year, and they went out there and made some investments. Tomlinson, I like a lot in the middle. And he went out there and got Zadarius Smith as well. But Tomlinson is the one to me. Now, we know what Myles Garrett, he's all world. I think there was a stat Mina Kimes had, and I think she said he faced the most double teams of any pass rusher in the league last year. I think she said it was like 30%. It was like 30%, okay? So he's got help now on this line. Now, Zadarius Smith, he's not going to get double teams, but he could do damage one-on-one to where you might not have to double. You might still want to, might have to chip. I mean, at least chip on Garrett every play. But you might not just say, all right, as long as we double Myles Garrett, we'll be fine. Zadarius Smith can get home. Tomlinson could be a disruptor in that middle. Now, the rest of this defense is a lot of inconsistency here. But now we're bringing in Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz on this defense, schemes should be changed. Jim Schwartz defense are normally very aggressive, blitz happy. They like to apply pressure. That means DBs are on an island. And while Denzel Ward has certainly looked to be the guy at times, I don't know. The consistency for Denzel Ward is the issue for me. Now, he's battled through some injuries as well, so I can't blame it all on him. He certainly has not. I wouldn't call him an underachiever. It's just at times he's looked to be a true number one DB and a top tier one. And then at times he has not looked like that. So with Jim Schwartz switching to a 4-3, and I'm assuming unleashing hell like he has in his prior stops as a DC, it's going to be sink or swim for people like Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward needs to be the guy. And while in years past I've liked him, right now it's Myles Garrett and a bunch of dudes. But I do like Tomlinson. I like Zadarius Smith. I like Tomlinson a lot. Linebacking core to me is mid. But the DBs is where they're going to have to sink or swim. And I'm not that confident right now to think that they can swim. Because, again, another question mark. Because we have the offense where the offense looks the part. On paper, this looks to be a really good offense. Great offensive line. You have your number one receiver. You have a top-tier running back. And you have a QB that has been top 10 not that long ago. This should be an offense that should be feared. But will it? Then you go down to the defense. Any defense that has Myles Garrett, you got to give him a chance. But they were so putrid against the run. But now a new scheme, a new DC, they have brought in interior line help that I think will actually pay dividends. But we still got question marks in this defensive backfield. So offense is a question mark because we haven't seen it. Defense is a question mark because while there's been some upgrades, we don't know how much of an upgrade it actually is. That, to me, in a nutshell, is what it is for your Cleveland Browns. So over under for the Cleveland Browns, 9.5. The under is getting the juice there. Excuse me, the over is getting the juice, but the under is the favorite and a pretty substantial favorite. Under 9.5. So 9.5 is the line. Over, under, let me know live in the chat or on the replay in the comments. I will get the schedule lined up, but before we get to the schedule, I will check the chat. Let's see. Man, y'all going crazy on Lamar. Okay. Script zero, nasty man time. Yep, you already know. Magic Man Watson has no more passes. Damn, dog. Damn. This whole thing of not giving QBs any leeway, this is kind of wild. We pretty much gave him... Okay, so the fact that Magic Man is a Browns fan, I like that. We pretty much gave him a free pass last year, but now no more excuses or passes. Okay, all right. Make a break for not only Watson, but the Browns. Okay, so you're putting everybody on notice. Okay, I'm not mad at that. As a fan, you should do that. Magic Man, Browns GM Andrew Berry graduated from Harvard, so if this doesn't work out, then I'm really fun to question that degree. I mean, I would question it even before that. I mean, when they had Ryan Fitzpatrick was running around here with that Harvard degree, all them damn interceptions for someone that went to Harvard. I mean, we've kind of seen that. Oh, big take from Magic Man. Lamar has weapons while Nasty Man has elite weapons. I don't know if we're calling DPJ elite. Are we calling DPJ elite? Is that what we're doing? We're calling this guy elite? Donovan Peoples-Jones, elite weapons? I mean, look, Amari Cooper is definitely a better receiver than whatever Lamar has. Nick Chubb is the better running back. Well, you know what? This might not be as hot of a take as I thought. You know what, Magic Man? You might have convinced me. You might have convinced me. I think I'm rolling. Scrub Zero, I think we should return to D4 this year. I think that'll be lit. That'll be lit. I'm here for it. Look, as long as there's no masseuse tables, I'm cool. I'm good. The man can ball out. Pause. If Nasty Man doesn't have the guaranteed contract, then he by far the most under pressure player in the NFL this upcoming season. If he doesn't have the guaranteed contract, then he by far is most under pressure. Well, I think the Browns are more under pressure than Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson got that money. That money coming no matter what. That money is coming no matter if he stinks up the joint or not. That money coming. So he is not under pressure. But I think I now know what you mean. If he doesn't have that guaranteed contract, he had the most under pressure because he had to like really earn that bread. But yeah, that's the beauty of a guaranteed contract. And that's why the NFL don't want nobody else getting those. Scrub Zero, still with the Giants, kept Tomlinson. That's a good pickup for the Browns. Yeah, no, I think that's, look, they were basura against the run. And Tomlinson could, if there's one thing Tomlinson could do, and that's stop the run. Magic Man is saying he is not a Browns fan, but it certainly sounded like one in the chat today. So do you have a squad then or not? Scrub Zero, dang, that's a good number. He'll take the over. Okay. Hey, I look, I think, looking at that number can really make you try to navigate. Is it really about that? Like 9.5? We haven't even got to the schedule yet, but we're going to get to that in a second. But 9.5 is that number. I think it is a very interesting number. Look, this is why Vegas has all those casinos, and that's why all those hotels are fancy, because they know how to get us to spend that bread. They know how to get us to spend that bread. All right, let's see. Somebody new in the chat. Elbori 787. Browns going 13-4. At the worst 12-5. We are winning the North. Just watch. Okay. Hey, look, I'll be here all season, so tap in. I'll be here all season tapping in. So I'm going to be doing recaps after the games on Sundays and whatnot, doing live streams and all of that stuff, working on some Discord stuff too. So if you want to tap into the Discord, the link is in the description as well. Elbori, our weakest area is the linebackers and not even. Let's see. I definitely think your linebackers are mid. You're obviously way higher on your back four than I am. I mean, look, outside of Denzel Ward, I'm not that sold on everybody else. But no, I think the defense main improvement was improving the D line, because El Bori, y'all would trash against the run, and with Tomlinson and even Zadarius Smith, especially now with the switch to the 4-3 under Jim Schwartz, I think that's where your biggest jump will be for the Browns, is that D line. Myles Garrett has help. I said the stat earlier, 30% of the time he was double. 30% of the time, that's the most for any pass rusher in the NFL. Now you switch to a 4-3, give him some help, give him some help on the other side and Zadarius Smith, give him some even more help with Tomlinson, and I think away we go. Oh, that's right. You did say that, Magic Man. You did say that. You are a Giants fan. My bad. Yep, that's my bad. I forgot. I got swept up in him hyping up the Browns. I was like, wait, is he a Browns fan? Okay, El Bori. If Deshaun Watson plays the way he did before we went in the North, mark my words. Hey, look, if he's offensively, there should be no issues, right? It's just a matter of we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it. I don't have any concerns about Deshaun Watson. Like when it comes from a playing perspective, I have no issues. I do think though, they need to put him back in the shotgun. I think that's the only concern, where on the center, he was not that dude. On the center, he did not look fluid. He did not look cohesive. Now, if you're mixing in some under center stuff with some shotgun, with some 11 personnel, especially now with bringing in Elijah Moore, drafting Cedric Tillman, now I think you can put him back where he's more comfortable. He's got more time to think, more time to let plays develop. And then worst comes to worst, you can run Nick Chubb out of 11 personnel, and he bodied that shit last year. So no, I think offense won't be the Browns' issue. It'll be the defense. All right, let's go ahead and tap into the schedule. Let's go ahead and pull up the schedule and see what we got here for El Bori's Cleveland Browns. I appreciate those pulling up. If you could hit that like button, the brother would greatly appreciate that. That lets the algorithm know that y'all are liking the content. Therefore, I like that as well. So we got the Browns starting off with the Bengals. Damn, they got an early-ass bye week. God damn, that's an early bye week, bro. Week 5? Remember that for those fantasy drafted Nick Chubb and Amari Cooper. Got a week 5 bye week. Okay. Bengals, Steelers. So a lot of division games early for this. God damn. They play all 3 teams in the. Well, we'll know early about the Browns. God damn. We'll know early. They playing the whole division in the first month. And they got Tennessee. At least it's home games, but damn. This is a rough start. It's going to be sink or swim early. Then off the bye week, you got the 49ers at the crib. So the home schedule, they get a lot of home games early. That could mean things later when they're always on the road. So we'll look for that. 49ers, Colts, Seahawks. Okay. This schedule. Where's the road games on this schedule? They sandwiched all the road games. This is a weird schedule, bro. Week 5 bye week. Indy on the road, Seattle on the road, Baltimore, Denver, LA, Houston. This is a weird ass schedule. Do they have enough road games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 road games. Okay, so they got, well, it's hard to do it with 17 games now. You can't really balance it out. Okay, so one more home game than road game. It's interesting, though, because I feel like looking at this schedule on paper, what was the number? I think I'm taking it over. It's hard for me to see the Ravens go over, But looking at this Brown schedule, I think there's more winnable games here. But this start is brutal. Bengals, Steelers, Titans, Ravens. If you can survive that, if the Browns come out of this 2-2, I think they can hit the over. But if they're 1-3, it might be a wrap for that. You want to come out of this 4-game start 2-2. I don't see 3-1 here. I don't see 3-1 here. Barring injuries on one of these teams, I don't see 3-1. But if they can get 2-2, I like their chances of hitting that 9.5 on the over. Oh, Bori in the chat. Should we have a weaker schedule compared to the rest of the North? Bengals DVs are worse. The North is going to be close, but the Browns will pull away. Okay, I respect it. I respect the fandom. I respect the knowledge. Yeah, this schedule looks to be really balanced in a Browns favor. Because even if you look at the bye week is hella early, but then if you get out that bye week, you're looking at where are the hard games outside of the division games. We know the division games are going to be tough. 49 is going to be tough. Seattle's going to be tough, especially on the road. I mean, the Jaguars game could be tough, but it's at home, and it's in December. Florida team going to Cleveland in December could be advantage Cleveland. Bears, we'll talk about them on Thursday, but, I mean, depending how injuries go with them, this could be a layup. Houston should be a winnable game. Now, finishing off with Jets and Bengals, that's tough. That is tough. And I appreciate y'all hitting the like button. Thank y'all so much. I do appreciate that. Magic Man, the schedule ain't even that bad. I agree. I'm kind of trying to navigate this like this to me. Now, remember, if we go to earlier, the strength of schedule for where we at? We're doing the Browns, right? Their schedule was average. Average strength of schedule. Literally the middle of the pack. Out of 32 teams, they have the 16th easiest and hardest schedule, which means they had the most average schedule. Whereas if we look for the rest of the division, Bengals' schedule is a little bit more difficult. Ravens' schedule is a little bit more difficult. And the team we haven't gotten to yet, but the Steelers have the easiest schedule of the whole AFC North. But the Browns have the most mid schedule alive. And I think we're seeing that in real life as we break down this schedule live and direct. I low-key want to take the over here. I want the juice. Pause. I think I might take the over. I'm going over. Fuck it. What was the Bengals prediction since I missed it? Bengals prediction. Well, now I was going to take the under, but now looking at the layout of the schedule, I think that the over is certainly in play. I'm gonna roll the dice and say I think they could get 10 wins. Scrub Zero. If they get to the bye week at 500 or better, the Browns going to get 10 wins, no problem. Okay, no problem. Okay, I like that. And I think the key is that first month. This is a brutal way to start because Tennessee ain't for play either. Tennessee is a very tough physical team. So that rush defense that we talked about that was so horrible last year, they're going to get tested right away, even after the bye week with the 49ers. You got Joe Mixon in that offensive line that just added Orlando Brown. The Steelers have a good running offensive line. Pass blocking might be a little bit of a different conversation, but they can run block. We know Tennessee can run block, even though the offensive line on paper is shaky. But with Derrick Henry, they're going to be running that rock. And then you got J.K., Lamar, maybe Zay, maybe Odell, who the hell else knows, running with the Ravens. And then you take a week off, and then you come back, and now you got Christian McCaffrey running downhill at you. And Debo. So that rush defense is going to get tested right away. If they could survive this, I'll even put in the 49er game. If they could go into that Colt game, I mean, you would like 3-2, but I think that might be asking too much. 2-3 is probably more likely. Yeah, that rush defense will get. We will know if Tomlinson is worth his bread after these first 6 weeks with the bye week mixed in. Magic Man, I got Browns 12-5 if D4 is him this season. Okay. If he is not him, I got him 9-8. Damn, that's a lot of L's. It's a lot of L's. Whole Brown season really just depends on Deshaun Watson. See, I'm gonna assume Watson's gonna be him. I think it's that defense. I think that the defense will let us know if they can get those wins. Because I think the offense will put up points. I don't see Deshaun Watson regressing. I think he's too good and still young enough to where I don't see him regressing. Now, he had times and I kind of teased it coming in, but when he first came back, you would have assumed that was when he was going to be his worst, and then he would get better as the season goes along. It didn't really work out that way. It was almost the inversion of that, where he played really good off rip and then kind of tailed off at the end. It just was inconsistent. So I think there could be something there with I'm more confident in Watson just being back to his normal self. I think the question is that defense. New scheme, new system, new D-line. Myles Garrett is still, if not the best defensive lineman, still top 3 in the league. If that goes according to plan, I think that's how like the Browns jump up into that 10-win territory. And boy, last season doesn't matter, but look at how we played bad defense, average QB play. We went 7-10. Yeah, I think the problem is how good is the defense. I'm not worried about the offense. I think Magic Man is, and concerned of just everything rides and dies with Deshaun Watson. I'm not. I'm more concerned it's the defense for me. Oh man, Magic Man really got to give himself a pause. I'm glad he caught that. I'm glad you lucky this ain't Cam and Mace. You really lucky, bro. Magic Man is outside. He's going to the Giants opener. Deshaun Watson is that guy, but our defense is going to beat them dogs. Okay, we'll see. Look, I'm tapping in. We'll be here. We'll be here all season long. So feel free to subscribe. You know, Scrub Zero will be here. Magic Man will be here. Corey was here earlier. We have a good little crew that pulls up when NFL season gets going. So we're all in our preseason mode, getting ready for this NFL content. So, all right, Browns off the board. It's time. Let me see. Come off the screen. There we go. All right, it is time to tap into, let's see. Everybody's still going. I'll let him get all his Browns take off. I like fans pulling up and supporting their team. I like that. Let's see, where are we at here? Let's get the Steelers a pop here. Boom, boom, boom. All right, where's that at? Okay. Give me a second. I'm trying to get all of this shit done. Okay. All right. I subscribe. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Albari. Appreciate you pulling up, bro. Thank you for tapping in. All right. So, Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, there's a lot to get into here. Yo, Magic Man, you got a lot of pauses today, bro. You got a lot of pauses in the chat, bro. You got a lot of pauses, yo. I think now he's just trolling us with his ability to get off pauses. All right, so let's see. Where are we at now? We're going into Steelers. All right, let me just make sure I got all my stuff lined up with these windows, all these tabs. Bariqua's in the house, okay. Bariqua. Et tu sabe. All right, let's see what we got. All right. Okay, so the main thing I'm going to get going with the Pittsburgh Steelers here is they brought back Matt Canada. And I think that's something where not a lot of us was really suspecting that. Matt Canada is still here. The Steelers, in terms of additions, I mean, you see them here. Let me know when you find one that actually makes a difference. I'll wait. Right. So now players that they drafted, a lot of people high on Joey Porter Jr., obviously recognizable name. Broderick Jones is another one. And oh, don't you forget, they made a trade for Allen Robinson. So, yeah. Not a lot there for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but the thing is that I don't think there really needs to be a lot for the Pittsburgh Steelers because I actually think they have a lot there already. I think there's a core there that low-key, I just see Matt Canada's still there. You know, Mike Tomlin's a loyal dude, boy, because I would have ran him up out of there. But, you know, be that as it may, Matt Canada is still there. Now, Kenny Pickett, we know how it starts in this league. Everyone wants to talk about the quarterback. Kenny Pickett, though, I didn't like how they used him at times. And I heard a really good comparison, and I went and I dig up some stuff to kind of see if it fit. And it low-key kind of did. Kenny Pickett really should be used like how the Giants used Daniel Jones. Now, I'm not saying Kenny Pickett's ceiling is Daniel Jones because I think he's better than Daniel Jones. I think they should use him like the Giants used Daniel Jones. Let the man run. I don't know if it's a skin thing, but they didn't want to unleash Kenny Pickett for some reason. And when he did run or freestyle, he seemed to play his best ball that way. But when you put him in the structure of the offense and make all your reads, he struggled like any rook QB would. But when you unleashed him, let him play like, you know, like we're in the playground or how we're on the field, you know, on Thanksgiving, playing turkey, I think he can really get it off if they change the way they use him. I think that's going to be something here. We can have Pickens and Deontay Johnson. That's a really good 1-2 punch. Now, I don't know where Allen Robinson fits in that. I'm not putting him in the slot. And again, this is as of today, actually. Yep, 28th. Yep, this is as of today. They got Allen Robinson in the slot. Wouldn't be me, but I get it, I guess. But I like Deontay Johnson. I like Pickens. I like Najee Harris. I like Freiermuth as the tight end. There's a lot to like about the Pittsburgh Steelers. The question is that what are you going to expect from Kenny Pickett? How are they going to use Kenny Pickett? What's the long-term usage of Kenny Pickett? Are you developing him into being a game manager, or are you trying to make him be a Tua, be a Josh Allen, be a Trevor Lawrence, be a Justin Herbert? What is the design of what the Steelers envision for Kenny Pickett? So I think that's where we're going now when it comes to that. Because I like this offense. I don't like it as much as the Browns offense. I don't like it as much as the Ravens or the Bengals offense, but this offense ain't no slouch. Offensive line is solid, not great, solid. You got the weapons on the outside. You got old man Allen Robinson seeing if he can, you know, hang on to anything in the slot. Freiermuth is a good tight end. And then you got Najee Harris, who's got some ability. I like this offense. It's just not as good when compared to the rest of the AFC North. And that in lies is the problem. But by no means take that as you can just walk over this squad. I think this offense could put up four touchdowns on you if you play games. If you play games with them, Najee Harris is going to break one. And then you got Deontay Johnson and George Pickens running seam routes, running sluggos, non-routes. You might have Allen Robinson underneath, and then you got Fryermuth in the seam. And then if worse comes to worse, Kenny Pickett on a rollout, on a bootleg, on a broken play, can go get some yards. I like this offense. The thing is, the hell is up with this defense? Seems to be a theme in this whole AFC North. The hell is up with this defense? Because, quite honestly, yes, they got Cameron Hayward. They got TJ Watt. And that's about it. I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick always looks the part and at times plays the part, but he might be a coulda, shoulda, woulda all-star. Patrick Peterson, I don't know how much he has left. Again, we talked about the Joey Porter Jr. pick. It was a good pick. I can see the vision. Obviously, pedigree with his pops, with his franchise, but I don't see him making that much of an impact in year one unless injuries happen and he's forced into action. But in regards to this defense, I mean, the pass rush looks good on paper. Anytime you can put Cam Hayward and TJ Watt on the same line, I think you're in a good spot. Then obviously they went out there and drafted Benton, and he looks to be a guy that could get some push. But outside of that, that's where the question mark is to me. If they can get a pass rush, I like them. If they can't get a pass rush, which it will be hard for me to see how they can't get a pass. But again, can TJ Watt ever play a full season? Cameron Hayward, he's a guy that's battled through injuries. You know, if you're a big believer in Levi Wallace, I mean, I'm not, but I'll let you get it off if you are. To me, it's a little interesting to navigate where to put this Steelers defense. If they're healthy, they could be a upper echelon defense. If they're not, the depth isn't that great. The depth is pretty good on the front line. I think Marcus Golden is a guy that's a sneaky good pickup. But in terms of, Quan Alexander is another guy that coulda, shoulda, woulda. Keanu Neal, like there's names in the reserve ranks for the Steelers defense. I just don't know if they're just names from the past. So Steelers defense will be the bugaboo for me. Obviously, TJ Watt, if he's healthy, he's top tier. Cam Hayward, I think he's still got a lot left. If he's healthy, he's top tier. Minkah Fitzpatrick has game-breaking ability. The question for me is consistency. Patrick Peterson is a little long in the tooth, but at times he can still show you that he's him. So there's a lot of question marks, but if they're healthy, they're good. So if you pair a defense that, if they're healthy, they're really good, with the offense where, compared to the rest of their division, they might not be on that level, but stand alone, this is a good offense. But they are in this division, and that's the issue. They are going to have to face the Bengals, the Ravens twice. They are going to have to face the Browns twice. And that's where the issues lie. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, over under 9 is the number. 9 is the number for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Over under, let me know in the chat. You taking the over or the under? Both are getting pretty decent action. Under is a slight favorite right now. While y'all do that, I will go to the chat. Where are we at here? Yep. Okay. Magic Man, my prediction is the Steelers miss the playoffs and go 9-8 again, and the cycle continues. Okay. Why is your joint moving all the way up there? What's going on with Ecamm? Okay. El Bori 787. The Steelers QB play in O-line is suspect. I think if they unleash the QB, I think you'll think differently about both him and the O-line. I think I'm putting that more on Canada than the actual QB and the O-line. But I see your point, though. Scrub Zero, Matt Canada ain't the play, dog. Yep, I agree. Scrub Zero, I didn't even know they traded for Allen Robinson. Trust me, I only know because I do this stream. I only know because I did the research. And I was like, holy shit, that's where he went? Okay. I found that out like last night when I was like prepping. And I was like, oh, damn, that's where he's at? Okay. Magic Man, so they got 4 to 6 easy wins. You mean the Steelers? 4 to 6 easy wins? Well, shit. Vegas is saying the number is 9. Mike Tomlin, Magic Man, I commend Mike Tomlin for able to have a winning record despite what I just said. Yeah, no, I mean, look, the roster isn't as great as it used to be. And I don't know if you peeped the timeline, but AB was talking wild again today, but he had to run it back. He was going at RC. He was going at Ryan Clark, but then he had to run that back. El Boy, I see the Steelers going 8-9 at best, 7-10 at the worst. Okay, so then by that logic, you're taking the under. You're taking the under because the number is 9. So you're taking the under. They are not pushovers, but he's going to be under hella duress. Well, certainly against the Browns. I don't think the Ravens or the Bengals have the type of D-line that the Browns possess. So certainly against the Browns, he'll be under hella duress. They are a proven defense, and that's why I give it to the Steelers. If TJ gets hurt, it's over early. Yeah, I mean, look, he's the best player on that defense, right? He's the best player on that defense. So some would say he's the best player on that whole team. So, yeah, if he goes down, it is a wrap. Script Zero, I got the over. Tomlin doesn't have losing seasons. Facts. Okay, well, let's go ahead and tap into this schedule. Let's go ahead and tap into the schedule. And, again, they have what schedule? They had the 8th easiest schedule, right? They had the 8th easiest schedule. Let's tap back in. Screen. Yep, they have the 8th easiest schedule in the league. Okay? So green is easy, red is hard. Pause. So Steelers, 8th easiest schedule in the league. So let's check out their schedule. See how they're looking. Remember, the over-under is 9. All right, so they're starting off with the 49ers at the crib. 49ers, but they're another team with the early bye week. So those with any fantasy implications, remember the Steelers got an early bye week. 49ers, Browns, Vegas, Houston, Baltimore. What's a realistic start heading into that bye week? 5 games heading into that bye week. That's a lot there. I'm trying to think. I think I'm gonna go. Houston should be a win unless D'Amico cooks something up. It's hard to find some wins here, dog. That 9 number's looking kind of crazy just off this first little sample size of 5 games. I see 1 win, maybe 2. Maybe the best case scenario, they're 2-3 after 5 games. Best case scenario. I could definitely see 1-4. But best case is 2-3. I see Scrub Zero agrees. And me and El Bori sharing the brain. 1-4, maybe 2-3. Yeah, that's the best case scenario, bro. All right, off the bye week. Oh, wait, Scrub Zero saying he could see 3-2? Okay, hold up. Let's see if we can see what Scrub Zero sees. Where's the 3rd? I could see 2. You could sell me on Vegas and Houston. Unless you're telling me you're not high on the Browns. That is a Monday night game. Pittsburgh's not an easy place to play. It is at home. I mean, maybe. I don't think so. And El Borre, now he might be a little biased here. El Borre might be a little biased here, but 3-2 not happening. Might be a little biased because he sees, you know what I'm saying, he sees the Browns up there on that Monday night game. All right, let's see. After that bye week, they go to Cali. Then they got Jacksonville. Those are winnable games. Green Bay's a winnable game. Oof. Arizona, Patriots, Colts, these are winnable games. Okay, so this is where that 9 number, if they're 2-3, let's play that best case scenario, 2-3. They could beat the Rams, that's 3. They could beat the Titans, that's 4. They could beat the Packers, that's 5. Could beat the Cardinals, that's 6. Could beat the Patriots, that's 7. Could beat the Colts, that's 8. And depending how they play within a division, I mean, 9 wins. If they take care of the teams that we assume on paper they should beat, there's a pathway to the over. Problem is, that's not how this works. That's not how this works, dog. That's not how this works, dog. So I don't know. I don't know. They got a couple of Thursday nighters in there as well. They got a couple of Thursday nighters, a Monday nighter. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it. I like the team. I like the stars on the team, but nah. I don't think so. For 9 wins, so they have to get 10 wins. 10 wins or 8 wins? Are the Steelers more likely to get 10 wins? Or more likely to get 8 wins? I think you got to take the under there. So I'm going to go under with the Pittsburgh Steelers, for sure. All right, let's see what y'all are talking about. Y'all going crazy in the chat. A lot of pauses from Magic Man. Scrub Zero explaining his case for 3-2. Okay, I got them beating Vegas and Houston, and they could steal one of those division games. Okay, I respect that. That could happen. Magic Man, Tomlin ain't that guy anymore. I don't think there's any proof of that, sir. But, you know, to each his own. Okay. Now, I do respect that. If you're a fan that's realistic, you are more than welcome here. You're more than welcome here. Because those are the only fans I actually respect to keep it a buck. The biased fan that comes in with, no matter how their team looks, we're going to win the Super Bowl. Like, yo, dogs, come on, man. Like, stop. Why do it to yourself? And that's why I say here, fandom is a mental illness, because it can be. It can really be a mental illness if you let fandom take over like that. I'm saying pause many times. Well, yes, I am saying pause a lot. I say pause a lot when I think it's verified. I think you're creating scenarios to make you say the word pause. Just talking sports in general, if you're of the belief of saying pause, can make you say pause a lot. All right, let's see. So let me see. Does that? Yeah, that wraps up our AFC North coverage. That was a lot. This is a long ass stream, 2-hour stream. That's pretty dope though. I like it. Let me see, come off the screen here. There we go. Let's see. They over there on Kick. Yep, we still kicking as well. Like that. Okay. Let's see. Salute to those over there on Kick, checking out the content, whether you're live on the replay. Salute to those on YouTube, checking out the replay. El Worry, I don't know what the Super Bowl. Yeah, see that's where. All right, so I'm doing the NFC North on Thursday. I have my guy Jack Kavanaugh coming on. He was on here to preview the Super Bowl with me in February on my podcast, the DCMD podcast, and He was really good. He knows his shit. He's got, I think he's part of Player Profile here on YouTube. So tap in with him. But I'll have all his contact info in the description for Thursday. But yeah, he's gonna pull up. He does a Lions pod, and so he's locked in on the NFC North. So I figured he would be perfect to come on and let's talk all things NFC North. So that'll be the stream on Thursday. Gonna have some clips from last week's stream coming out this week as we get ready, man. It's really just not that, we're not that far away. It's already at the end of August. You know what that means? We get Labor Day weekend to kind of prep, and then away we go. We get that Thursday nighter, and then away we go with the rest of week one. So I'm really excited for this upcoming football season. I'm excited to be able to tap in with y'all here on throughout this football season. So I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's see what the chat is saying. Jack Kavanaugh, I had him on the podcast to preview the Super Bowl. Oh, was it the recap the Super Bowl? I forget which one. But I had him either before or after the Super Bowl. But he was good. And he does a Lions pod, so NFC North. Let's get into it. I'm a former Bear fan, so, you know, I always have a little bit of I always keep an eye on the Bears, even though I gave up my fandom to them. So I think with the Vikings and I think the regression that they've had, and then the Packers with no more Aaron Rodgers, and then the Lions seemingly stacking up, loading up on offense. If they could just get their wide receivers to stop gambling, I mean, I think they can really like be ready to take a step there. So. If we're only know about the AFC North. Hey, well, look, that's why you subscribe here. You're going to learn about all the rest of the divisions. I've been breaking down every division for this whole month, right? Yeah, for every week I've been doing two divisions. So started off with the West, then I did the South. Last week was the East, and now we're finishing it off this week with the North. So, you know, tap into all of that, and you'll be up to speed. You'll be up to speed. Magic Man, I feel like this season might be boring. Why? I don't feel that way. I mean, look, because I don't support one team, I'm just locked in on just all things NFL. Like, so I'm a red zone head heavy. So I'm gonna be locked in on red zone, locked in on fantasy, locked in on betting, all that type of stuff, because I don't have to, you know, have the heaviness of living and dying with one team. I don't have that. I don't have that thing on me no more. I could just lock it on just enjoying the games. And to me, it's a better lifestyle. Some people need to be fans, so I get it. But for me, once I got the Bears out of my system and I was like, nope, I'm not living and dying with this nonsense no more. I'm a grown-ass man. I was like, all right, good. I could just watch football and enjoy it. Plus, working in sports media kind of adds to that. So, yeah, well, working in sports media kind of shows you the other side of the sports shit. Like, you learn the underbelly of all the sports shit. So then you just kind of learn like, oh yeah, this is not, they don't care about fans. This is just all business type shit. So it kind of sours you a little bit, but it's all good. Yeah, Scrubs here. This season's gonna be entertaining. I think so too, man. Look, I'm Red Zone's always entertaining, unless there's not a lot of 1 o'clock games in there. Some mid 4 o'clock games. That's the only time. It's the only time Red Zone is mid. I was so hyped last year, but it was mid. You were a Giants fan. How were you not hyped last year? Team had the easiest schedule in the league and they made the playoffs. How were you not excited? Scripts here, fantasy makes you have to pay attention to the rest of the league. Yeah, no, agreed. If you're trying to win, it used to be Madden. Madden made us pay attention to the rest of the league. But now Madden's been so trashed, now it's fantasy. Boy, I follow the NFL, but I'm tuned in on all AFC North because it's where our road begins and ends. No, I mean that if you're going to be a fan of a team, you should be locked in on that division. So I get that. I get that. Imagine making tight end in fantasy is George Kittle. Okay, well, what round did you take him in? I'm going to guess third or fourth round. So you got Lamar as your QB. You got Kittle. If you could have did that Lamar Mark Andrews stack. Yeah, because didn't Corey give us that one? Yeah, Corey gave us that one on Thursday. I had to write that one down. I was like, that's a good idea. Because I did the Mahomes Kelsey one last year. Magic Man. Magic Man, my whiteout one is Cooper Kupp, and my whiteout two is Debo. So you got Lamar, Cooper Kupp, Debo, and you got Kittle. Got Kittle in the third round. Figured that. See, I know a little something. Whiteout is this one though, Cooper Kupp. So you got Lamar, Cooper Kupp, Debo, and Kittle. Yeah, you should be good. It also doesn't sound like it's the deepest league for you to get all of them. Might be, what is it, 8-team league or a 10-team league? That doesn't sound like a 12-team league. Skip Zero may hear me cuss out the Giants during the game, but that's about it now. Nah, I think that's fair. I will still have my moments where, like, this year was the closest year that, like, I dabbled with the idea of paying attention to the Bears. Not becoming a fan again, but paying attention. Because it's like, oh, they have a quarterback. They literally have never had a quarterback my entire life. Okay, that could be lit. And now they gave that quarterback actual weapons in DJ Moore and Chase Claypool the year before, even though he's been a little shaky. We'll definitely touch on that Thursday. But, you know, so I was dabbling. I was like, I'll pay attention to the Bears. Not going to be a fan. I'm not going to support, but I'll tap in. Magic Man, Kelsey was taken in the third round as well, but I haven't got that pick, okay? Yeah, I think it's a good pick. I think Kittle in the third round makes sense. If he's there in the fourth round, I think you kind of have to do it. But I think third round is a good spot to take him, especially since you said Andrews was gone or Kelsey was gone. Wait, Kelsey was taken in the third round? Hold up. How was Kelsey still there in the third round? I had to run that back. I just assumed you meant Mark Andrews. Kelsey was still there? He lasted 2 rounds? Is it a PPR league? If it's a PPR league and Kelsey, I've seen Kelsey go in the first round. I've seen Kelsey like legitimate in like big money leagues. Kelsey go in the first round. He lasted the third round? Okay. All right. Oh, man. Let me see. What time is it? Oh, it's after 7. Yeah. Let me wrap this up. All right. So, y'all have been dope on YouTube and on Kick. I see y'all over there on Kick. We're going to grow that out a little bit and see what happens over there, but glad we were able to figure that out with some tech difficulties. I could never multi-stream. It was a software limitation on Ecamm Live, but now that's fixed. And if you want to learn how to live stream and be able to create your own graphics and stuff like this, like I have here on the screen, you can check out Ecamm Live. It's right there. There's a free link to do a trial of Ecamm Live. It's right there in the description. Magic Man, trust me, they don't know anything about. Okay, well then that's why Kelsey was still there. Okay, all right, but that explains that. All right, cool. Well, I'm gonna take this time to slide on up out of here. Again, thank y'all so much. Appreciate y'all pulling up to streams and staying active, staying in the chat. So salute to y'all in the chat. Always appreciate y'all. Y'all give this stream a bump. Y'all keep me engaged. Y'all keep me just scrolling up and down depth charts and shit like that. So salute to y'all as always in the chat. Again, channel update. you know, again, YouTube shit. We crossed over 4,000 watch hours. Apparently that's a number you need to hit on here. So we crossed that. Now it's just about getting the subscribers up to hit some of these other benchmarks. So we're getting close to 500. Then after that is 1,000. Then we'll see where the hell it goes from there. But thank y'all for getting me to this point. Couldn't have done it without y'all tapping in and being active. So I appreciate y'all so much. And Thursday, same time, 5 p.m. Eastern, NFC North preview edition of Timeline T. Yes, Magic Man is a fantasy bully. Playing fantasy football with people that don't know fantasy is like Messi's looking in the MLS right now. And I'm sure Magic Man appreciates that. And I will end on that note. So for Timeline T, I am the Sam D. Let me get my little bed up out of here. Okay. For Timeline T, I am the Sam D, aka Sam Duzme Jr. I will see y'all on Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern, to preview the NFC North. Peace.